Last night, Marcus Stroman dominated on the mound against his former team, the New York Mets. The game took place in Chicago, and Stroman went out there, through 8 innings, gave up only 2 runs on 4 hits, and struck out 3 Mets hitters. The strikeout stuff wasn't necessarily there, and Stroman isn't really an elite strikeout guy anyway, as he relies heavily on his ability to get ground balls and weak contact for most of his outs. He's done a great job of that this season, and that of course only continued on Wednesday night in the north side of Chicago. With Marcus Stroman, though, comes drama to follow a lot of the time, and that pattern also continued on Wednesday night. After getting a big double play to end the top of the 8th inning, killing any chance for the Mets to score any more runs, Stroman was pumped, looking back and screaming, talking trash to the Mets dugout. This isn't necessarily that crazy or out of the norm for Stroman, someone who gets very flashy when he does well, and honestly, I have no issue with it. If you strike someone out or get a big out to finish off an inning in a good outing or something, go crazy, do what you want. Baseball is fun, so have fun if you're successful, because not too many people are. What is a little different about this moment, though, is the fact that he specifically looked right at the Mets dugout, as you can see here. This clearly requires some context, so I'm gonna give it to you. Really quick, but if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button if you enjoy the content. Thank you. Back when Marcus Stroman was a free agent before the 2022 season, before he signed with the Cubs, Stroman did not hesitate to hold back his thoughts on the Mets and their fans. To start, he liked tweets from people who accused the Mets and their front office of being racist simply because they had interest in other starting pitchers out on the free agent market who happened to be white. I mean, he literally liked a tweet that claimed that the only explanation for the Mets wanting Robbie Ray or Kevin Gausman over Stroman is because they're white and he's black, and that nobody wants to see a black man succeed. A few months after signing with the Cubs, Stroman went on to call out the Mets general manager, Billy Epler, while also saying that he is beyond grateful to be gone from their organization. Stroman is clearly not afraid to put his thoughts all over Twitter. There's nothing wrong with that. Twitter is supposed to be a platform for free speech, and he should continue to be able to say what he says. With that said, Stroman should not be surprised when he gets backlash, considering a lot of what he says is pretty wild. So going into this start against the Mets at Wrigley Field, now you can at least get and understand how long this anger has been brewing for Stroman, and he most certainly let it show after getting the final outs of his outing, screaming over at the Mets dugout. After the game, when asked about facing his old team, Stroman said that he really doesn't play into it too much, although his younger self may have seen it as a revenge game. Those may have been Stroman's words, but based off his actions, he seemed to have treated last night's game as a revenge game. As for the Mets clubhouse, they did not seem to like what Stroman did, with one player even saying so. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you what Mets player criticized what Stroman did, and that's because we don't know. The player stayed anonymous, saying, quote unquote, "What did we do to him? Show some respect, be a professional, it isn't all about you." I'm going to take Stroman's side on this particular thing because that player should not be staying anonymous. If he really feels that way about Stroman and doesn't like what he did, he should say it with his chest proudly and not be afraid to show his name or face. Stroman would agree, as he responded to Mike Puma, the man who reported it, joking that he should cite his sources. But Stroman was most certainly not done on Twitter. I mean, he'll never be, so don't expect him to stop tweeting. He went on to then respond to a fan who tweeted out that he saw a Mets fan calling Stroman a racial slur. This fan didn't even tag Stroman in the tweet, meaning Stroman wouldn't have had any other way of discovering it other than it randomly popping up on his Twitter feed, or him actually looking up his name to see what people were tweeting about him. Stroman clearly does the latter, and I mean, I don't blame him, it's normal. A lot of players look up what people are tweeting about them. So Stroman replied to that tweet, saying that Mets fans calling people the N-word is the norm, and that they are a trash fan base. Wow. Another Twitter user responded to that original tweet by saying, "Mets fans justify racism every time it conveniences them. Every time a Puerto Rican slumps, you see it out of the woodwork, but if it's one of the 2% milk boys, there's crickets. I hate it here most of the time. If it wasn't for you and a select others, I'd give up on sports socials." To which Stroman chimed in, agreeing with it. Wow, is pretty much all I can say. Again, I do feel whatever Mets player anonymously criticized Stroman should show his face and not be afraid to say it loud and proud. But as far as Stroman himself goes, to go out and call an entire fan base racist is just not the way to go about things. It's stupid, quite frankly. Just because there may be one or two idiots out there doesn't mean a fan base that consists of millions of people are all bigoted, evil racists. I've also seen a ton of love over the years from Mets fans to Stroman. And ironically, the guy who Stroman tweeted that Mets fans being racist is the norm and that they are a trash fan base to is a Mets fan himself. That dude was defending Stroman like so many others. Yet Stroman still thinks he should call an entire fan base racist trash. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.